And welcome everyone to Films with the Women in My Life. My name is Brennan, and joining me tonight is Jess. Jess?
Hey guys.
And also with us tonight is the girlfriend in my life, Nicole. Nicole, please. Hello.
Hello, everybody.
We got two on tonight, so we got a full panel for our review of Greta, the new horror-ish film.
More suspense than horror.
Yeah,
I think stalking should be its own plot.
Stalking's its own category now.
Yes.
So this is a film by director Neil Jordan, who is an Irish director. I had heard his name before, but I didn't realize he has directed 18 other movies. So he's been busy for the past 20, 30 years or so.
Anything else that we've heard of?
Some stuff you've heard of. So the big ones, his biggest hits are The Crying Game, Interview with a Vampire, and Breakfast on Pluto. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of any of them or seen any of them.
I've heard of a few, but I can't say that I've ever seen those.
Yeah. And I thought you were gonna say Breakfast at Tiffany's, honestly. And then you said Pluto.
No, he's not a 100-year-old man. He's a that was made, I think, right around when he was born. So he also made one movie that I actually own. I bought it off a recommendation. It's called The Butcher Boy, and I hate that movie. It's not good.
My God.
I do not care for it. But that's all I know Neil Jordan from. But he's always done kind of horror thriller kind of stuff for the most part. Obviously, Crying Game's more of like a drama, but for the most part, it's been all horror and thriller. So I guess this stars Isabelle Hubert, who plays the titular Greta. Have either of you seen Isabelle in anything else?
No, I haven't.
I can't think that I have. Has she been in a lot of foreign films, or?
She is French, and she has been in a lot of French films for the past. How old do you think she is? Take a guess at how old she is.
Her face is very familiar to me. Like, I feel like she's been an extra in movies, but I haven't seen her as like a lead. I would say she's probably like 55. I'm not good at guessing though.
Yeah, I was gonna say early 50s.
She is 65 years old.
Oh my God! I told you I wasn't good.
She has been she has been working since she has been working in movies since the 70s. She's starred in several French films and some smaller indie films. Though I've only seen her in one thing. It's a David O. Russo film called I Heart Huckabees. And she's like a existential detective in that. But other than that, she's done some voice work for Wes Anderson movies like Isle of Dogs and Fantastic Mr. Fox. Oh yeah, it's a good one.
Does she look the same as I Heart Huckabees as she does now? I feel like she's the type of woman that doesn't
pretty
age
much,
that much.
Actually. I was surprised at how and that was about 15 years ago. I'm surprised at how little she's aged. But yeah, that's your lead. It's a two-hander. Your other lead is Chloe Grace Moretz, who plays Frances, and I think most people will know her from Kick-Ass. She's Hit Girl. She's been in other things, but I think if you're gonna know Chloe Grace Moretz, that's like her biggest role.
She's actually famous now, I think, for her like natural face campaign, where she goes around the world and doesn't wear makeup. And it's basically a campaign to let women know that they're beautiful without makeup. So I feel like that's her claim to fame right now.
Oh, I'd not heard about that.
Pretty cool.
Interesting. Mm-hmm. Well, I think they're both pretty good, and they're pretty much the only two people, except for, how do you say her name? Marika Monroe is the roommate, Erica.
Whoa.
Yeah, and she
was a nobody to me. I've never seen her before.
So she's actually been in a few things.
I've not seen her.
She was in the horror movie It Follows as the lead. She's also in the thriller The Guest, and most recently that I've seen, she's in Independence Day 2 Resurgence. She plays Bill Pullman's daughter, so that's... the thing is, I didn't recognize her from any of that. That's just kind of, she's working. She's been in a few things, but
and yeah, I don't know if it was the braces or what, but she looked pretty young.
Yeah, she's. I think they're all. She's probably in her mid to late 20s, but Yeah. So, I mean, those are your three people. Everyone else who's in it is in it pretty sparsely. You get Stephen Rea, who's like an Irish actor. A little bit later is the detective. People will probably know him from V for Vendetta. He's the lead detective. So
I feel like I need to give a disclaimer here that I am not a movie watcher at all. So when you throw these movies out, I have literally no idea what you're talking about. So I try.
So that's why we like to have different people on, because Nicole
very unbiased opinion.
Nicole does not love most movies, and I think that's why we like to have her on here, is because it's a completely different perspective. It's someone who watches very
I'm the
few.
common folk. I'm the common folk's opinion on a movie.
Yeah.
You're the common folk that doesn't like movies. Like the less common of the common.
Yes.
You don't see very many people reviewing movies who do not like movies, and I think that's a unique perspective that should be taken in. So I'll give a brief synopsis of the plot, and then we'll get into some spoilers, go through rating the film. So it's a pretty simple plot. Greta is about a young woman who befriends a lonely widow who's harboring a dark and deadly agenda toward her. That's the plot. There's not a whole lot much else going on. So I guess we'll start to get into spoilers now. If you haven't seen it and you want to check it out, it's still playing in a few theaters, I think, when we're releasing this, but a pretty small release. But so we rate things here on 4 different categories: the plot, characters, visual and sound, and the overall resonance and feel of the film. So those are our 4 categories. Starting with the plot, I'll start with Nicole. What did you think of the plot on a scale from 1 to 5?
Well, it actually surprises me that this is a small release, because I feel like the plot is very easy to follow. I feel like a lot of people are into this kind of thing.
People who never watch movies, yeah.
Yeah, that's the perspective I have. This is an easy watch for me, so I gave the plot a 4. I actually quite enjoyed the plot of it. I thought it was a different perspective on a movie. I haven't really seen anything with this particular plot before. That's why I enjoyed it. I liked how the movie progressed. I thought it was lined up pretty well, but at the same time, I thought it had some continuity errors. But I mean, it's because
talk about that later.
Yeah, but besides that, I didn't find anything wrong with it. There were a couple scenes we'll get into, like the restaurant scene in there. I didn't care for, but those were just minor things that didn't distract from the plot for me. So I did enjoy it.
Jess, what do you think about the plot?
Yeah, I gave it the same rating. I gave it a 4 as well. I like the simplicity of it. There really wasn't too much to think about or things harping in the back of your mind. It was just, like Nicole said, pretty easygoing. It wasn't hard to follow. It was kind of predictable. Some parts were unpredictable, but some parts were very predictable. Like this young girl, she has, I guess, a little bit of daddy issues. She's like the very, very naive, nice girl, and then she just gets caught up in a whole big mess that she pretty much brought herself into.
I have to intervene for a second and say that Jess did jump out of her seat at one point, so she's lying when she says that she thinks it's predictable.
I did scream my fortune and held Nicole's hand.
Well, that's a little bit later. I think we'll get to that. But all right, so you're both saying a 4, liking the plot a little bit. So I guess I'm the downer tonight. I give this plot a 2.
Oh my God.
It is basic and trite, and by the end, it just kind of peters out. It's a movie that and I think I said this to Nicole when I left it. It's a movie that feels like it was adapted from a short, and then they made 2.5 hours of footage, and then they recut it down to an hour and a half. It feels like a good 20-minute premise that they blew up and added a bunch of subplots to, and then they cut a bunch of subplots, and we're left with a simple story that is, for me, never really interesting. And then we get to some pretty nonsensical plot holes and movements by the second half that I I mean, there's a couple of really good scenes in here, but as far as the plot goes, I'm not buying it.
Yeah, we had that discussion where we felt like it was like there were a couple parts in the movie where they seemed so out of place, like they must have had a larger agenda, but they had to cut it somewhere, so they took out parts that left the other parts meaningless. So I totally agree with that.
Yeah, so, this is unlike Cold Pursuit, where that had so much stuff happening, like, jam-packed this movie. This movie was just, again, like, it was simple, like we said. Just one kind of theme that was just stretched out for... Mm-hmm. And I think the movie itself was short. It was less than 2 hours.
It was about an hour and a half, I think. A little over, maybe. But,
I'm so bad with movie time judgment. I felt like I was in there for 3 hours. I swear to God. It was like so...
Well, when we saw Jurassic World, you fell asleep twice and woke up and you were like, it's still going? I'm like, babe, there's like another hour. Like,
go back to sleep.
Oh, my God.
So I'll give some plot details while we're talking about it. It starts off with Frances, who's Chloe Grace Moretz's character. She has lost her mother recently and has a strained relationship with her father, so we don't really see him very much, briefly, but not much. She lives in New York as a waitress with her roommate Erica, and one night at the very beginning of the film on the subway, she finds a handbag belonging to someone named Greta Hadig, and I'm going to stop right here. What would you guys have done in this situation? You see a handbag on a New York subway, and it's unattended. What is your reaction here?
I would have completely left it there. I would have never even touched it.
Yeah, right. I don't think I would have touched it either. I would have just left it there.
So you both would have left it. And I'm thinking probably the same thing for me.
I have such a horrible, outlook on humanity. I would have felt like it was like a bomb. Like, I wouldn't have touched it.
Of course, yeah.
I know, when I was, in the middle of, a drug scheme, the guys who was, pick up the bag at the subway.
So you both were afraid of picking up the bag.
And then, exactly, and that's where I'm like, nope, not touching that bag.
So I'm not exactly afraid. I'm just, it's left here, and, I just don't want to involve myself. I don't care. And that's, I guess, the whole thing about Chloe Grace Moretz's Frances's character.
She's that, sweet, naive girl that
for someone,
does the right thing.
Yeah, for someone who lives in New York.
Well, she's not from New York, so she doesn't get the lifestyle. She, I think they touch base on her moving there with her friend, but she's not from there, so maybe she's got a different outlook on things.
I guess I didn't get that she wasn't from there originally. But either way, I don't think, even if we took the bag, are we taking it by hand to the house of the person and then going in when they invite us in?
Hell no.
Yeah, I'm certainly not going by myself like this fucking idiot did. I
know. I know. If I were to return the bag, I honestly probably would mail it.
Exactly.
I don't think I would go and handle it.
There's an address on there's an ID in the bag, so there's got to be an address. And you could always leave it at, the police. There's just a lot of other things you could do if you were so compelled to take the bag.
Yeah,
she does not. She just takes it, and I know we have.
Erica tries to convince her not to.
Yeah, the roommate who comes off as a little bit unlikable, who quickly becomes, I think, my favorite character because she kind of makes sense to me. She seems like a real person. And that's, I guess, a problem I had. All right, so now we'll talk about the characters a little bit. What do we'll start with Jess this time. What did you give the characters as an overall grade?
Yeah, I gave them a 3.5.
All right.
I don't think there was a lot of character development. I think Frances learned her lesson, but that was about it. Greta still stayed crazy, and Erica did redeem herself because
Erica has maybe the best moment in this movie.
Yeah, the private investigator couldn't even take care of himself, and it was Erica who...
Oh, no, he's useless.
Yeah, he was useless. It was Erica who kind of turned it all in the end.
And what do you think, Nicole?
I gave the characters a 3. I actually really enjoyed Greta's character. I thought she was hysterical because she really held true to her character the whole time. I thought she was just really funny. I don't know if she was supposed to be, but I thought that she was. I thought that Frances, Chloe Moretz's character, was so terrible, so predictable, Her dialogue was so amateur. Like, I laughed at her for a completely different reason than Greta's character. I just thought that they really weren't implemented well with each other. So I gave that a 3.
Yeah, I think I'm on your side a little bit more. I give it a 2.5. It's I also don't get Chloe Grace Moretz's character. You're right. She's written poorly, and I don't think she's a bad actress. She's written really poorly here, and I don't quite like Greta either. There's something about her that just isn't. It doesn't grab me. It doesn't. I don't buy. I don't know if I fully buy it all. It just doesn't seem right to me.
Is it you don't like the actress, or you just don't like her character?
No, because I mean, I've only seen her in one other thing, but the other thing I've seen her in, I liked her.
Well, we were discussing after the movie about Chloe Moretz's character. They gave her such juvenile lines. Like, how else can you portray that character but like, oh my god, stay away from me, that kind of like juvenile thing. It was really stupid. Like,
yeah, they didn't do anything. It just, they had to kind of resort to that, especially for so
I know
we're burying the
and
lead.
The 4 times she called the police, they did nothing for her. So I'm just like, all right, you gotta take matters in your own hands, girl.
Yeah, another stereotypical example of useless police.
Yes,
but
definitely.
Yeah, we're burying the lead a little bit. We haven't really talked about Frances. She goes in when Greta invites her in when she's returning the bag. And they kind of are friends for a little bit. For I'd say 15, 20 minutes, they're friends. She helps Greta adopt a dog, and...
No, this was longer than that. This was over, I'm going to say, a 2 to 3 week span. She was going over her house all the time. Like you said, they went and adopted a dog
I meant 15,
together.
20 minutes of screen time. I didn't mean of literal relationship.
My bad. Okay. Yeah, no. But yes, they did bring all that.
And it escalated very quickly, but you can tell that it was because Frances lost her mom, so she was kind of using Greta as a filler for that.
Right.
Which Greta
and you find out Greta talks
about
a daughter, so she feels like a mother figure. So they kind of mutually or at the beginning are good with each other, but then the scene comes where they're making dinner at Greta's house. And Greta tells her to go get something out of the closet, and she in the bottom drawer she finds all of these identical handbags, just like the one that she found on the subway. And they've got her ID, and they all have the same kind of stuff in them. And at this point, I understand it. It's like, oh, okay, so Greta's fucking leaving purses everywhere, and that's kind of weird.
Every purse has a young girl's name and phone
number. Yeah, you're right.
On it. And that leads you to believe that there have been women in her house before in the same circumstances as Frances.
Yeah, they're the women in her life. It's they.
Yep. Wait. Also, it was Stephanie alive? I could not understand if that girl was dead or alive.
Yeah, I think she was. Basement. I mean, kind of. So that's another part of the plot that kind of falls apart when we get towards the end. So. So she starts getting stalked by Greta after she leaves, because she's freaked out by the bags. She's calling her all the time, texting her, showing up at her work.
My favorite scene.
And she starts talking to Erica, the friend.
Which I
think was a good scene. I like that one actually, where Erica's at a bar, and Greta keeps sending pictures to Chloe Grace Moretz's phone, and she's on the phone with Erica and trying to warn her, and they keep going, and then it kind of ends anticlimactically, but yeah, I think that scene works pretty well.
My favorite scene is Chloe Moretz is working at the restaurant that she's a server at, and she looks out the fucking window, and Greta's standing across the street staring into the window, and Greta can clearly see that she's perturbed.
That might have been when I
she's still there. It seems like it's 6 hours later. She's still fucking standing there. It's so funny.
Oh no, Jess, I think you screened when the body bag. Maybe when the body bag moved, when the. In the basement. Is that what it was? I try to remember. You literally jumped out of your seat. And I had seen a trailer for it, and I knew it was coming, but I can't even remember what that jump was. But,
well, so we need to understand why there's a body bag in the basement to begin with here.
Yeah. So
I
mean, I assume it's Greta's prior girl that she tricked, and
well, yeah, we come to understand she has this little room.
What's her name? Is
yeah, she has this little room in her house that she keeps the girl in that she's preying on for the time being, and it's like a little child's room, and there's a freaking toy box that she like keeps them locked in. It's after she drugs them. It's so bizarre. So you can already tell this woman is insane, and she just wants this daughter figure. You come to find out, like, her daughter is her daughter dead, or
her daughter died, like killed herself or something.
Is that what it was?
Right?
I can't
she
remember.
Suicide?
I can't remember.
I think the daughter committed suicide.
Oh no, you are right. You're right.
She was an alcoholic.
She never went. She said she went to France or something, but no, she killed herself.
Oh, Greta said that her daughter went to France, but in all reality, she killed herself because she like OD'd from alcoholism because her mom tortured her as a child in the friggin' toy box.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it was. So she's got the toy box, and now she's finding her next daughter, quotations, that she wants to put in there.
So I think this is a good time for our visual sound ratings. And I'll go ahead first on this one. This is my highest rating of the categories of the film, and it's a 3. So there you go. Nothing super spectacular here, except for what Nicole, you were just talking about, the room behind the wall. How does she cover it up? She has a little metronome on top of a piano that kind of goes back and forth, creating some white noise. And whenever she hears banging from the neighbors, or banging from the room of the captor, she says, "Oh, the neighbors are doing construction," or and she like bangs on the wall, like, "Quiet down." And the new victim is just thinking, "Oh, there's just construction. Why not believe her?" And then she starts playing the piano, kind of out of the blue in the beginning. And then when she's with Chloe Grace Moretz, but when you come back later and she's in the room now, and she's got a new girl in there, you understand why she's covering up the sound. So it's like those little moments like that pushed it above some of the other categories in this movie for me. Nothing too spectacular though. That's just a standout part. Jess, what did you think?
I think my standout part was I gave it a 3.5. But my standout part was right after Greta killed the private investigator. He was laying on the floor, and there was piano music playing in the background. You can see her little stocking just fluttering around and dancing around the room. And she has like the deadly syringe in her hand, and the guy's just dead on the floor. That probably still got.
It really showed her. Yeah, it definitely showed her, like her personality.
Her craziness just illuminated right there. And she just really plucked him with poison, which I don't. What was it? Like roofies the whole time? I don't know what she's been drugging or where she got her drugs from. But
another point of the plot that doesn't quite make sense. She kills a detective and leaves him in the basement, presumably in a body bag. We see her zip him up, and I mean that's not addressed again in my memory. There's no consequences for an officer, or he's not an officer, but he's like a detective who goes missing. And by the time the plot's resolved, I don't think that has any resolution, which for me is kind of a big deal, especially after in that scene Nicole was talking about where Greta freaked out at the restaurant. She's taken away in like an ambulance, but then she's just out again at some point. Like
she got away out of the
like she escaped, or they let her go. Like I'm it's those second half parts where the reality of it all doesn't quite mesh for me. Like I'm told up to this point that this is a fairly real world, but now all these things are happening where Greta's like escaping out of nowhere, and she's not getting called by the police, even though she was just taken away for stalking a girl, and now a guy's gone missing who's investigating her disappearance. Like, just some stuff that doesn't quite line up for me.
Yeah, and then going back to the visual of it, I remember. I mean, I guess this is cool how it looked, but the screen was the filter was just like so dark and so blue. And at first you thought it was kind of like back in the day just because it wasn't just bright and up like we are in modern times, but it actually ended up being today's world.
Right. What do you think, Nicole? Yeah.
Well, I gave it a 3.5 out of 5. Kind of gave that to the visual aspect of it. The sound didn't leave much of an impact on me. I didn't hear any, dramatic music or anything like that that really got me feeling a certain type of way. But the visual, when I watch a movie, I like to look for things that are, held throughout the whole thing. I noticed from beginning to end, the director of filming it did a lot of waistline shots. So the shots were all done from the waist down. So you see feet walking, you see the subway at waist level. At the end of it, you see someone walking with a purse at waist level. Like, I like that because it didn't give a face to it. So it just kind of showed that, like, Greta is manipulative to anybody who's willing to help her. And that's the kind of thing that I enjoy. So I thought that was pretty cool. But like I said, the sound didn't leave much impact for me.
For someone who doesn't really watch movies, it's a pretty astute observation on the camera work.
I was actually thinking the exact same thing. Well done, Nicole.
It's because I don't pay attention to the story. I literally look at everything else. I look at the background. I look at side characters. I don't pay attention to the storylines.
Yeah, and I guess we'll wrap up the story right here. So the big twist at the end is Chloe Grace Moretz has been kidnapped in this room for, I'm not exactly sure, weeks, maybe a month. A very long time. That's what you're.
That's what the
so
friend
the friend
says.
We get
Yeah, something really vague.
Too long. Is that what it was? Yeah.
Oh, too long. That's what she said.
Something real cliche and stupid. But we get these artsy shots that Nicole was talking about, where a new girl is in Greta's house, and Greta's giving her the same treatment that Chloe Grace Moretz got in the beginning, and we don't see her face. And just when she's going to get something out of the kitchen, we see she pours a little something in Greta's drink, and she drinks it, and she gets all loopy, just like the other people did when she would drug them. And it's the roommate we see has a wig on, and she's got this coat on to try to disguise herself maybe. And she's able to figure out where Chloe Grace Moretz is, gets her out from behind the piano, behind the wall, and they don't kill Greta. They knock her out and put her in the chest, and then they lock her in with a little Eiffel Tower.
Gave her a taste of her own medicine.
Yeah, give her a taste of her own medicine. Not
they
full
didn't
kill.
completely lock her. They put the Eiffel Tower toy, and locked it, and then the last thing you see, it wiggles out, I think. So it's open-ended. So what happened?
For Greta 2.
Just about.
We gotta have Greta 2 where she escapes from the chest.
Return of the Greta.
Yeah, I do not hope for that. So overall, the overall feel and resonance. Nicole, what do you give that?
Okay, I actually gave it pretty high for what we've discussed. I gave it a 3.5 just because of the ease in watching it. I did like it. There was a couple moments that did actually have me on the edge of my seat. Sometimes I don't get that feeling, but this did have a little bit of suspense to it in some parts that I enjoyed. It was easy enough for me to watch and not have to follow every single aspect of the story where I would feel lost. So it's an easy watch for people like me that don't give a shit about movies. So
yeah, no, I did the same thing. I gave it a 3.5 too, just because it was simple, but it didn't feel like it was long. It didn't feel like it was dragging in any way to me. And it was just fun to watch. And some of the scenes, like Nicole said, were funny. Of Nicole just literally stalking her from the restaurant. That had me going. And then remember,
it's so funny. I'm still laughing.
Yeah, the dream. That one I did not see coming.
Oh,
that I did not see coming.
Okay. So the dream, I didn't mention that yet. So that's my favorite scene is. Before Chloe Grace Moretz gets kidnapped, she's home and she plans on running away to, where's she running away to? Is she running away to France too?
This vacation with her dad, I think.
Oh, you're right. She's gonna run away to... Go ahead.
No, to Greta, she's running away to her dad. See, she never had the plan of leaving, but she had to give Greta a story to back out and peace out from her.
Right, that's what it was.
Right, yeah, she took Erica's advice of lying to her and saying she has to go away, and then Erica said, well, by the time you're gone, she'll move on to someone else.
Right, you're right. So, we get one of the more effective scenes in the movie where she is kidnapped by Greta and dragged back to the house, and she's screaming, and Greta throws her in the chest for the first time and locks it, and then we see her wake up like it was a dream, and then she's the roommate comes in and she's like, do you have your bags packed and everything? And she's like, your dad's waiting for you. And so Chloe Grace is kind of shooken up from the dream, and she's getting all her stuff, and then she wakes up a second time, and she's in the chest.
She's in the fucking box, dude.
She's in the chest.
God.
So that first one wasn't the dream. That second sequence we saw was the dream of her
that was a
passed out in the box. And I'm gonna admit that actually got me. And yeah, Jess, you're right. That might be the best scene for me, because I thought they were just doing. Oh, they're just gonna do. Oh, it was all a dream. Nothing really happened. And then, no, that was this is the dream. That was the real thing.
That was a really good twist. I think that was the part that shook me the most, too. So, that was good.
That was a clever, 5 or 10 minutes there. It started to win me back there, and then it lost me again. But right there, I was with it right there. And yeah, I gave it a 2.5 for overall feel and resonance. It's about the sum of its parts. Scenes like that stand out. Scenes like the roommate at the bar getting stalked stand out. The restaurant stands out. It just doesn't ever feel.
Even the ending, when it's the roommate disguised as a model that finds a bag, she tells Chloe Grace Moretz after she actually finds her, like, I've been stalking that bag for a long time now, waiting to find it so I can go find this fucking lady and find you.
Yeah, that was the most unbelievable part, because it's New York City. Like, there's no way you could find a person, let alone a bag.
She says she's been looking for a long time.
Yeah.
So
too long.
So I guess
one eternity later.
So Nicole, do you recommend Greta?
I recommend it to someone that, like myself, doesn't like to follow difficult storylines. I don't like to think back to the beginning of the movie 2 hours later, so this was very sequential, and I would recommend it for somebody who likes movies like that. Otherwise, no, it was stupid.
Well put, Jess.
I think it was suspenseful enough where people will enjoy it and not get bored of it. I'm curious how a mother's perspective would be of it, whereas because moms are always like, oh, I love my baby, or like I just want there's a daughter figure or something like that, where we're kind of in the perspective of the girl being like, yeah, that lady's creepy. But I just want to see what a mom's take on it would be.
It's too bad we don't have Mama Kay on for this show. She hates horror films, so.
Oh gosh.
So
scary.
No, but she was afraid of Get Out, and that's not. I mean, I've said before that's barely a horror film. It is a horror film, but it's not a scare. It's not particularly scary. It's
despite the fact that I jumped up from my seat that one time.
You did, yeah, the one time. It's got a jump or two, but it's not like crazy. It's
like
it's
a
pretty
face
tame.
popping out or nothing. If you're not into that, it's not that.
No, there's no cheap scares like that, thankfully. So I mean,
no blood.
It sounds like you guys are both giving kind of recommends to certain types of people. I mean, I'm sure there are people who like this, who like.
Yeah, I honestly think it's probably more geared towards women. All the characters were women, and there's nothing really a guy would really be like, oh, that was awesome. I think girls were like, oh, I'd see with my girlfriend or something.
Yes, you're right. Definitely.
I see. It's my fault. No, yeah, I know. No, I can't quite recommend this. It's for the 3 scenes that I like. It's an hour and 15 minutes otherwise of just kind of blah. I guess Nicole barely sees any movies. Jess sees a good amount of movies. I probably see the most movies, and it's not as good as most movies I see. So.
You're just too critical.
I mean, I have to be. Everyone.
It's my job.
You guys, I mean, oh, come on. No, you guys are here giving this movie. I mean, you guys are giving this the same kind of ratings you gave on some of the other movies we've already done, and I just think, since our show.
But I do believe this one's probably more geared towards women. I don't think there's enough going on to keep a man's attention.
Maybe so. Maybe all right. So if you're a woman fan of horror movies, this is the movie for you. If you're not,
you could be a man with a short attention span. You would probably enjoy it because that's just how I'm rating it from.
Yeah, like you said, the plot's not overly complicated on this one. All right, well, thank you for that, guys. And I think our next review, if it's not our next, it'll be the one after that. Can I count on both of you to review Us, Jordan Peele's new movie? I feel like you guys would both be interested in that.
Oh, yeah, there was a ton of trailers that looked really good before.
They look scary as shit. So
we've definitely got some good stuff coming up. Like Jess and I said earlier, May is going to be. I mean, it's gonna. We'll try to fit in as many shows as our storage space will allow us. But yeah, I think next will be Us, Jordan Peele's follow-up movie to Get Out, which is already getting some good buzz. So I'm excited for that. But yeah, and then we'll find some decent stuff in April. Maybe Pet Sematary. Maybe.
Do I have to see Get Out first to see the other one? Because I haven't.
No, they're not like a. They're not like a.
It's not a follow-up.
Related. No, it's just it's not a sequel. No, it's just cool. Same director and writer. So, cool. Yeah. Thanks, Nicole. Thanks, Jess. And until next time, everybody. This is Brennan saying, enjoy your movies.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to Films with the Women in My Life. If you enjoyed being a listener in our life, subscribe to us on iTunes. Please leave a review as it helps more people find the show. Like us on Facebook at Films with the Women in My Life. Follow us on Twitter at FilmsWomenPod, and check out our website, filmswiththewomen.libsyn.com. That's filmswiththewomen.libsyn.com. Original music for the show was created by Ian Burke. Original artwork created by Nicole D'Alessio. This show is produced by Brennan Snyder. Thank you again for listening and enjoy your movies.